Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, let's rock and roll today talking about our Detroit Lions here on the Heart of a Lions pod. Check it out. All right. Hey, everybody, it's me, Mike Vanderpool. I am here with Kevin Lawson. We are in our second podcast. Today, we are going to recap draft 2021, the Lions draft specifically. And we made some predictions and some guesses, some hopes and dreams last week, Kevin, in our first episode. And now here, 4 days after, 3 days after the draft started, we've got a bunch of draft picks to talk about and some free agent signings that we can talk about. So how are you feeling, by the way? Let's start there.
I feel really good. I think we have a very clear vision of what the front offices, what their plan is. I think we know tons more than we knew 7 days ago. I feel really good about how they view things. And I think it'll be easy for us to kind of plot and plan the type of players that we'll be going after and what our team is going to look like moving forward. I feel good.
And we'll definitely get into the specific picks, but two general things that I noticed, right? Inside out, and I love it, right? Inside out. And then also just freaking Brad Holmes' enthusiasm and his realness at the microphone. I mean, there's just something there that makes me feel like, even though, both of our friends, Freddie the Pizza Man, and I think Derry on his podcast brought up, Matt Millen and Bob Quinn took a tackle first pick along the way as well. But I feel like this is different, right? This regime that we had right now, because drafting talent is a part of the equation, but the bigger part is developing that talent, right? And putting them in a position to be successful. I feel better now than I ever have as a Lions fan that this leadership group is real and knows what it takes to help these kids, because that's what they are. They're 20 years old. Come on. I mean, that's what Sewell is, 20, right? To help these kids be successful. So I'm pumped. My prediction's probably going to be a little bit inflated this week because that's just, how it goes. But what did you notice on draft day? Other than Crack Yule has got some moves. Crack Man's got some dance moves, don't he?
Yeah, we weren't aware of all those moves. I'm not sure that I wanted to know some of those moves, but probably the biggest thing that jumped out to me, Mike, I'm a draft nerd. I mean, I start early. I keep a spreadsheet of everyone that the Lions make contact with during the pre-draft process and anyone that I think that they would make contact with. So I've got well over 200 names by the time we get to April. And on that,
wow.
Yeah, I'm pretty bad. I'm up at 3 a.m. just researching random 7th round picks, and I'm not even exaggerating. This
is what I'm doing, Kevin. We are doing this podcast specifically to get you a job on that Lions draft team.
Let's go.
All right. Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, right here. Kevin Lawson needs to be in that room next year.
I mean, every player they drafted was on my list. And on that list, I have 2 or 3 bullet points about every player. And it's not an in-depth bio, but as I read about that player, as I research, as I watch, 2 or 3 bullet points on every player. Mm-hmm. Every player the Lions drafted, somewhere in those bullet points, either said the words football character, tough, gritty, mean, all those bullet points on the players that they drafted. So there's a blueprint. There's a very concise, exact blueprint that they followed. Obviously, I don't have, 1/10 of 1% of the resources that they have, but based on what's available to me, it was easy to follow. After about the 3rd or 4th pick, I said, I've got this. I can't tell who they're going to take next, but I can tell what he's going to be about. It was very clear. So that's why I said in the beginning, I can easily track where we're going from here on out because I know what they're looking for.
And what are those things?
Like I said, everybody somewhere, it said tough,
Hmm.
mean. It said, overcame adversity,
Hmm.
grinded through the program, started at the bottom and worked his way up. All those catchphrases, all those bullet points were just littered throughout these guys' bios and their draft evaluations by others. So um,
Nice.
we've got a plan.
I mean, and that's really that. If you were to, Dan Campbell looks like he could play today, don't he?
Absolutely.
He just got that. I'm gonna put on the pads. I'm gonna hit you. Look, and I think that is just that grit and determination. It just comes out of this leadership, and that's awesome. If we're picking people that got that, the fans are gonna love them. And I think right now, with the way things are, yeah, that's what we need, right? Our fans. We're not going to the Super Bowl next year. We just need a team that's going to punch some people in the face and that we can, shout out Detroit versus everybody and feel like,
Right.
yeah, feel like we mean it. You know what I love? So our first pick, Sewell, you and I both wanted offensive line. I think we were both just as happy as Brad Holmes was jumping up and down.
Sewell was a
Uh,
dream pick, no doubt.
yeah. I love how nice that dude comes off because I know he's sitting there kicking people in the crotch in the pile, isn't he? He's just got that, how Sue was kind of like just angry all the time type dude. I'm more afraid of the guys that are, oh yeah, hey, nice, how's it going? And
Right.
smiling
Because
because
you're going to drop your guard and then he's going to punch you in your mouth.
yeah, exactly. Pitts went early, so that kind of that hope and dream kind of went away. But tell me a
That was
little
a
bit.
good thing for us. We wanted Pitts to go early to push down who we were looking for. And, we talked about it. Sewell was a dream pick based on, once again, our front office. Do they look like a front office that would lean wide receiver early? That they may have taken it if they didn't have a choice, but that's not who they wanted. They
Right.
wouldn't have turned the talent down. They wanted a gritty pick. They wanted somebody tough in the trenches. That's their first selection together. And later on, 2-3 drafts down the road, maybe they'll take a chance on something flashier. But their first pick together ever, I was very confident it was going to be somebody tough.
Let's see. Young guy. He's only played 2 seasons of college, right? Because he sat out last year.
He opted out.
And he started college at like 17 too, right? Lions fan, at least to some level, right? Played Lions in Madden, like the underdog. Yeah, exactly. You couldn't have a nice guy, right? Nice guy, but he's going to come up showing every day for work and put 100% in. That's if that's the MO that we're establishing, sign me up. I'll drink that Kool-Aid.
And you're not going to have to worry about him in the community. You're not going to catch him, out making trouble in the streets. That's not who he is.
Yeah.
Family, comes from a solid family. They came up from nothing. They had a vision for their own family, and the father executed the vision, and now here they are. So nothing but respect.
Yeah. I mean, and the only thing I know is the highlights that I've seen, and those highlight videos, I watch less what the player does and more who they're playing against, right? Because some of that stuff, the people that put those highlight tapes together don't. It's all the good stuff, right?
Right.
But in college, you know more than I do. How did Sewell perform at the collegiate level?
Well, he won the award for the best lineman in college football as a sophomore. And in almost 1,400 pass plays, he gave up 1 sack.
That's
and
crazy.
He still bothered about the 1 sack he gave up. Come on now.
Well, yeah.
I want that guy on my team.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about with Sewell or anything else? Well, anything else in the first round?
Well, all the negative people automatically flock to, well, we passed on Justin Fields and now he's a Chicago Bear. What's going to happen now? Oh my goodness. He's going to turn into the next, you name it, and haunt us for the next 20 years. Well, if that happens, what are you going to do?
Exactly. Exactly. Right. There is a certain group of the Lions fans and also Lions Media, who no matter what they do is going to come up with the anti-negative nonsense because that's just how Carlos Meneres chooses to live his life, right? I mean, that's just.
Yes. And unfortunately, he's got some followers. They may not come out of the woodwork and say they're behind him, but there's a whole segment of people like that.
Well, and so let's, before we move on anywhere else, what's the national and local media reaction then? Well, our local media, the columnists at the Freep, they just do dumb stuff. I don't even really take their opinions into consideration, right? But our beat writers and then the national people, what are they saying?
Well, not just discussing the first round, but discussing the entire draft. There was a composite grade taken for all 32 teams. They picked 18 experts, and the Lions finished second in the NFC as far as draft grades go. So from a national standpoint, local and national, it's not too bad. Out of 16 teams in the NFC, we got the second best grade.
And I watched some CBS Sports. I can't remember exactly who it was this morning. Breakdown of just the division and draft grades. I think we were the top there too. I mean, I think Chicago did pretty well from what I hear.
Yes,
Chicago,
they had an excellent draft.
Yeah, as long as Fields does well 2 to 3 years from now, right? Who knows what it's going to be like for him next year? I think this draft will go down as pretty solid for Chicago.
They drafted well overall. They drafted better than they have in the past few years. That's for sure.
Right on. But then I also heard that this is kind of Nagy's last chance potentially. So it's kind of all or nothing with this draft.
Justin Fields could be playing for another coach next year. And I'm not sure I want that or not. I haven't made up my mind. Maybe it's a good thing if Nagy hangs around a couple more years. I'm not sure. I go back and forth on that one. Maybe we want him Fields under him for a couple of years, and so we'll see.
But you know what though? There is this I want my team to beat the best, right? Yes. I don't. Okay, I kind of want Aaron Rodgers to go away just because Aaron Rodgers go away. But right, I feel better beating Aaron Rodgers than I do. Who is the one dude that Brent Hundley? Right. Right. Yeah, that was a fun win to be at. But at the end of the day, I want Aaron Rodgers on the ground with some grass in his mouth. That's what I'd rather see. So if we're going to end up taking the next steps, being a competitive team, it's not by beating up a bunch of crap ass teams. We got to beat some good teams.
And to think that the other 3 teams in the NFC North are all going to be 3 or 4 win teams while we reign. That's not realistic anyway. So let's they're going to draft good players. They're going to be competitive. They always have been competitive our entire lives. We're the ones who've been, who pulled up the rear more times than not. So to think that they're all going to fall off and we're just going to reign, it's not really realistic. Like you said, let's beat the best. We'll be okay.
Yeah, right. Let's look at what the NFC West is, right?
Oh my goodness.
I mean, what it can all. Yeah, exactly. But you know what? You're whoever comes out of that is pretty freaking tough and tested.
Yes. I mean, the worst team in that division could be better than the best team in some other divisions.
Yeah, exactly. Gotta keep the energy up. We're not sponsored yet, but if you're out there looking,
I love it.
We'll take your money. So what are we thinking about for round 2? I can't even remember who we picked up, and I know we went defense. I was happy with that. We stayed in the trenches. That's good.
Hang on one second.
That's Levi
Onwuzurike.
Onwuzurike, yeah. These names are actually easier to pronounce than they look. I will say that. Well, they look intimidating.
And we went through Oruwariye last week.
Exactly.
Onwuzurike after that, right?
Exactly. I think there was at least a couple people on Twitter that were wishing Dan Miller luck during the broadcast next year.
He's going to have some nicknames for these guys.
Yeah, or just a button where he can press it and it says the name for him. That might sound like the McDonald's drive-thru or something.
Yes.
Right? But defensive tackle Levi. Yeah.
So apparently Brad Holmes is a huge fan. He said during his day 2 press conference that he considered trading up for Onwuzurike. couple of different times. He got really antsy because he didn't want to miss out on him. He said, but the room kind of calmed him down. Everybody said, let's trust the board. Let's trust he'll fall to us. And he did. But Holmes is a huge fan of Onwuzurike. He is aggressive. He's a penetrator. He's not the Patricia type of defensive lineman where you're just controlling your gap. He's an upfield penetrator, which is a complete different approach for us moving forward. So that'll be exciting. That'll lead to more sacks and more tackles for loss. So he and I don't know if you caught his press conference. You did have to find it, it was absolutely epic. Every third word was a curse word, and it was epic. It was incredible. You got to find it.
Well, I did see people tweeting about that, and that is where I think I tweeted last night or something. My Lions draft grade was an F for let's effing go. Which that was, and I think it was Wojnarowski. What's his name? Bob. I can't pronounce any of these people's names. I'm horrible names.
Wojo.
Wojo. Wojo brought up like my daughter's here, so I gotta be careful. I F stuff up every day is what he says before his radio show. So like it's cool, right? It's cool. Like there's this, for the most part, I think the fan base is happy, the media is happy, everybody's kind of got that, like there is some hope for next season. Next season. So what did Levi do in college?
He defensive tackle, what you call a 3 technique, which is where he played most of the time. On the outside shoulder of the guard, and he just went upfield and, like he said, wrecked crap. He just went in and just kind of destroyed whatever the formation was. He tried to just get right in and penetrate the backfield and disrupt the timing of the offense.
Where did he go to school?
Washington.
Okay. And I think if I remember watching his highlights, he was very much just like pushing that offensive line back 2-3 feet.
Yes.
A lot of the time. And I think that is,
or slipping right in that gap and attacking the quarterback or the running back. And like he said, just wrecking whatever that play was.
I think one of the knocks on him though is like not a lot of sacks.
Correct.
Sacks are kind of a team stat though, if you ask me, right? Like, or defensive side of the ball stat, right? The person that gets the sack is only part of the equation for why that sack happened, right?
Correct. And if he plays to the level in the NFL that he played in college, it'll be worth the pick. If he continues on the same path and there's no drop off and that second round jinx that we seem to have more often than not, if he doesn't fall into that, it'll be worth the pick. Full disclosure, that's not who I would have selected there. I completely get where the Lions were going with it, especially now that we know what their blueprint is. But he was not one that he was on my board, but he was not one that I had circled at that pick. I thought there were other players that the Lions were going to select, but now I can look back on it and say, oh, I see where they were going with this entire plan.
And I don't think a lot of people had defensive line as a huge need for this team, right?
Correct.
I mean, it's a need, but there were other more glaring things. But so who else? What were you thinking for that second pick then?
Well, there was a safety that was generally regarded to go in the first round, Trayvon Moehrig, who had slipped. Apparently, he hurt his back during workouts, pre-draft workouts, and that scared a couple of teams away. He went 2 picks after our pick, but and his back is supposed to be okay. But I don't think that's why the Lions shied away. I think now that we know what they've done, I know exactly why they chose who they chose. But at that moment, I thought they were going to go in a different direction. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I thought like the rest of us thought, they're going to choose the next highest rated guy. Well, they chose the highest rated guy on their board that fits their plan, a completely different direction. So now that we know how they think, makes perfect sense.
And for better for worse, they have 3 years. They have at least 3 years to build this team, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And you and I talked about this last week with the number of picks that they have over the next 2 years because of the Stafford trade. If we have a solid foundation, we again are in a position where best player available, right?
Yes.
For the most part, unless there's another, next year, next 2 years, there's a stud offensive lineman. We may have to pass him, but yeah. And then with that third pick, then we also went defensive tackle. Aline?
Yes.
Is it Aline?
Aline McNeil.
Yeah. So our first 3 picks are in the trenches. I love it, dude. I absolutely love it.
Now,
So-
I don't know if you've read about this guy.
I know nothing about McNeil, so
Now,
illuminate me.
I won't stay on him long, but this guy's really interesting. He's 6'2", 6'3", 317, but he's very athletic for his size. He played running back in high school at 260 plus pounds. He played the outfield in baseball at 270 pounds. Now he's an outfielder at 270.
What's his 40 time? Or I mean, just he
Four
must be
nine,
quick, right?
4 at 317. That's just amazing. So he's going to be right over the center, and just you're not moving him. Period. He's not going to have a ton of sacks. He may even have a ton of tackles, but he's going to clog up the middle, and you aren't moving him, and that's going to do wonders for us. I mean, we all thought that, the Penasini was going to be that guy, but now we've got 2.
Yeah.
That's going to be huge for us. When's the last time we had 2 nose guards that really could get the job done?
Well, and especially considering Aaron Jones and Dalvin Cook, right?
100%.
I mean, and who's Chicago got as a running back now?
Montgomery, he's good too.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean,
and as much as everybody passing league, I'm going to tell you the truth. You still got to be able to run the ball, and you still got to be able, if you want to be successful, stop the run.
Yeah. Yes.
And if we're going to clog the middle up, that makes all that a lot easier, right?
Yes.
I mean, shoot.
And we've added Brockers too that we traded for from LA. So I mean, it's going to look completely different, and we should see instant results for all these additions.
So last time you talked about what our offensive line would look like if we pick Sewell, and we fulfilled that dream, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what does our defensive front look like next year?
If we're going to play a 3-4 like everyone thinks, and like the Lions have strongly hinted at, you'd see McNeil on the nose, hopefully. You've got Brockers on one side of him, and you've got probably either Deshaun Hand or Onwuzurike on the other side. Mm-hmm. Then you should have Flowers and Okwara on either end.
It sounds like we have depth at the
absolutely
position too, right?
We haven't talked about Penasini. We haven't talked about Nick Williams, who are both back. Now that's really, really solid.
Yeah, because if they can gel as a unit, then that keeps our D fresh, right?
You're rotating them in, absolutely.
Yeah, nice. Oh man.
So yeah, that's looking. And see, that's what I said. Once everything started to fall into place, the light bulb goes off, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I see exactly what they're doing."
And how did we get another pick in the 3rd round? Did we have that, or did we make a trade?
The Stafford trade.
Is that the Stafford trade that got that? Okay, cool.
Yes. So that's Ife Melifonwu.
Iffy. I like that. Iffy.
Yeah. Well, I got that from Brad Holmes. I can't pretend I made it up.
Right
Once he said it, I said, well, that's it. That's what we're rolling with.
Yes.
I mean, 6'2", 205 cornerback who can move. You don't get those very often.
6'2" is pretty good for a cornerback, right?
It's huge. And usually when you get a guy that big, he's stiff.
Right.
He can't break down.
Hey.
Flip his head.
Hey.
Well, that's why you didn't play quarterback.
I had that Bill Lambier vertical jump, just so you
Exactly.
know.
So, I mean, this guy was supposed to go in the 50s. People were expecting him to get picked, mid-second round. He lasts to the end of the third, and we snatch him up. Okuda and I'm sorry, go ahead.
Any indication why? I mean, why did he drop that far? Or just the way that the draft ebbs and flows,
the draft
right?
falls, of course, anybody who's going, in the mid rounds has got some inconsistent tape somewhere, but there's not one huge flaw in his game where people are thinking, now this kid won't make it.
Right.
Louis Riddick said on the ESPN broadcast, there's no reason this kid shouldn't be a superstar. I mean, that's how much talent he has.
And again, it's going to be putting these kids in a position where they can grow and learn and maximize that talent, right? Stay away from the nonsense and all the trouble. And I don't think Lions, if there's no way to guarantee that there's not going to be trouble with anybody, not saying that this person is anything like that, but I think the Lions are going to be able to handle trouble when it inevitably comes.
Agree.
If it
They've
does.
got enough leaders there to handle it.
Yeah, and I really do like this mix of young people, and I think mixed in with some solid veterans who've won before, who've been through some stuff. Like we got a good solid core here, man. And I love the fact that we went trenches and primarily defense out of the gate, because nothing else matters. I mean, you don't got to score 100 if the other team can only score 7, right? I mean,
right. That's right.
But Iffy, what else about Iffy do I need to know?
He's got a brother. What's that?
It'll be him and Okuda, right? Primarily?
Well, yeah, he'll battle Oruwariye for the other corner.
Okay.
In all probability. Some people think he can move to safety, but we'll save that for another conversation at another time. Right now, I'm thinking he'll battle with Oruwariye on the other side of Okuda. And once again, it gives us some depth. Corners get hurt all the time. It's good to have somebody back there that you can put in and not have a tremendous drop off.
What did you say his speed was like? You said he was agile, but has he got some good speed?
4.48.
Okay.
At 6'2", 205, all day long, we'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, come on,
all day long.
So what's up with his brother?
His brother set combine records a few years ago for some of his athletic ability. Got drafted in the second round. But the rap on him always was he didn't love football. He played it because he was good at it, but he didn't love it.
Yeah.
So he hasn't made the mark that people think that if he will, because word is he's cut differently. It means more to him. He's a younger, hungrier brother,
Yeah, right on. Probably got beat up a little bit, right? Coming up. And...
Right. And now and also you can take into account he's watched what's happened to Big Bro and should learn from that, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's why I always respected Eli Manning. Eli Manning had to come up underneath that shadow. I always knew that he was going to be tough and resilient, and I don't know. I just like Eli Manning.
Personality showed it. He didn't talk a lot. He didn't do it, but he just grinded and got it done.
And he was pretty even too, right? Like,
very.
And I think football is one of those games. Like, yeah, your emotion drives you a little bit, or should drive you a lot, but it can also too much can put you in a bad situation. So if this dude's kind of even keel and has stood up to some big people beating him up along the way. I think that was Sewell brought that up too, right? About his early days. I like that, right? Like this whole revenge factor, like I'm gonna show you, right? Like, that's
it makes you tough
too. Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm gonna prove you wrong. You tell me, that's kind of my personality. You tell me I can't make a movie about the Lions. Guess what? I'll make a movie about the Lions.
I'm gonna do it. I love it.
And then finally, round 4, we got the wide receiver that people probably were screaming about.
Yes.
Early on.
You get one. We got a really good one. This kid, I'm going to call my shot right now. This kid is going to be an absolute fan favorite at Ford Field.
Yeah. Why is that?
He's got a little bit of the it factor. He's tough. Once again, we're talking about coming up. His dad is Mr. Universe. Okay, let's start there.
Really?
Yes, absolutely. You've got to go find the pictures.
All right.
His muscles have muscles.
All right.
His dad's Mr. Universe. He's got him got the kids lifting weights at 6 years old in the garage.
Oh, I did see a picture of this dude. He's freaking like
Yes, that's his
he's
dad.
ripped, dude. No, not his dad. I saw a picture of him. Oh, you mean his dad's the influence? Yeah, but his mom. Yeah. This dude's solid, man.
Yes, and full athletic family. His brother plays for the Packers.
Okay.
And he's just got a little bit of the it factor. I was fortunate enough to catch several of his interviews. He did a draft diary on the NFL Network, and he also was interviewed multiple times on Sirius Radio, and I happened to catch them all because I'm just that nerdy. And this kid, it was just another interview until you start listening. You're like, wow, this kid's kind of got it. And sure enough, he's a Lion. I'm telling you, mark my word, he will be a fan favorite here and a longtime Lion. I really like this kid.
I love his name, his first name, Amon-Ra. I mean,
yes.
As long as, yeah. And is he the type of receiver that's going to complement Goff?
He should. We talked last week. You actually asked me what type of receivers did the Rams lean towards, and we talked about those technical route running guys. He's got more of that than anyone we have on the roster right now.
Nice. What's his speed? Because you also did last week say that check out their speed, but then I think it went a little strayed from that a little bit, right?
Yes, he is not a blazer by any stretch. He's not slow, but he's not a blazer. But he's very technical and he's so physical. I made a comment on Twitter. I said, whenever I watched him at USC, he reminded me of Golden Tate.
Yeah. Who was a fan favorite?
Right. He ran the jet sweeps. He blocked. He's physical. He's got some of that grit to him. There's that word again.
Yeah.
And you can see why the Lions would gravitate towards the kid.
I got a feeling that based on the build of this team, that we're on offense going to try to stretch the ball laterally versus horizontally.
Yes.
And I think that's a recipe for success, right? Get the ball out of Goff's hands quick, and get it to a playmaker with a little bit of space, and then crossing
patterns are always a good thing.
Yeah. And then we went linebacker. Matt Derry's probably happy with that, right? Derry's always harping on poor Lions linebackers with Derek Barnes.
Yes, so we traded up to get Derek Barnes. So we had back-to-back picks with St. Brown.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Yeah.
So this kid, they were calling him the Hammer on the broadcast yesterday, and that's a really good description of his play style. He's not a 6'3", 250-pound linebacker like a Micah Parsons, but boy, if he hits you, you're going to know it. He'll give you some Stephen Tulloch flashbacks, especially wearing 55, sitting in the middle of the Lions defense. A little bit bigger than Tulloch and probably a little more athletic too, but you'll have those flashbacks. I hope this kid makes it and he can sit right in the middle of the defense behind those two big linemen we talked about earlier, and they keep him clean and let him run to the ball. That's a formula for success.
Why did we trade up for him?
Because we didn't think he'd be there much longer. The drop-off at linebacker in the Lions' eyes for what they wanted was drastic after Barnes, and they did not want to miss out on him. And once again, we talked about they sat there and they thought about taking him with the St. Brown pick, but they thought, no, we've got to take him first. And they said, well, let's try and trade up. And luckily, they ended up with back-to-back picks and got both guys.
What do we have to give up for that pick?
We gave up our 5th rounder yesterday and then a 4th rounder next year.
Right on.
So they
It's so
obviously
hard.
highly love him.
It's so hard to tell if all these trades and things like what they actually eventually equal out to. I'm sure there's like some database somewhere that can say like
Right.
what happened with what, but I don't know. You know, at any pick after that third round, even I mean, what's the likelihood that they make it, right? I mean, it's a
I think
it's hard,
I think
hard
these
game,
two
hard game.
should make it.
Okay, cool.
I think these two will make it.
Cool. So basically, it looks like we had 2 picks in the third, 2 in the fourth, and then nothing in the fifth and sixth.
Correct.
Partially because of some of that. And then we did go running back with our last pick in the 7th round. Pick 257, Jamar Jefferson. I like alliteration, so I already love him.
Yes. So once again, someone who was supposed to go earlier. I mean, people talked about him going 3rd or 4th. He's sitting there in the 7th.
Wow.
Basically because he doesn't stand out in any one area. He's not huge. He's not fast. He's just a running back, just a solid running back. And he is really a zone scheme running back, which is what we're going to run primarily, where he gets the ball, makes one cut, and he's up the field. When you watch his highlights, you're like, oh my gosh, that's exactly who he is. And then the thing that really sold me and got me excited was an NFC scout said, there's nothing special about this kid, but watching his second year, he'll have 900 yards and 7 touchdowns, and everybody will be regretting not taking him. That's worth the 7th rounder in my book.
Yeah, I mean, again, how many? I'd love to see the stat of how many 7th rounders actually make it past year 3, right?
Yes.
Well, and then we did a whole bunch of. I mean, I don't know. I don't follow the draft at the level that you do, obviously, but we also had a whole flurry of unsigned free agents.
Yes.
Yesterday, right? I mean, we got some dude. That is it. Sutton. Is that
Surratt.
his name? Surratt. Whew. Oh my goodness! How'd that dude not get drafted?
So we got 3 wide receivers, all over 6'1", all over 210 pounds, all at various points people thought they'd be drafted. We've got all 3 of them.
That's
Jonathan
crazy.
Adams, Sage Surratt, and then Javon McKinley from Notre Dame. I guarantee you one of them's going to make it. There's a chance they all could make it. They all have traits that could translate to sticking on an NFL roster. And once again, when you look at Brad Holmes' history with wide receivers, he never goes early. He's never, ever gone early. It's always 2nd round on. And he followed that blueprint to a T. So now we've got 4 new wide receivers on the roster. Ross St. Brown and these 2 guys. If 2 of the 4 are successful, that's a win.
Yeah.
Because you didn't burn any early draft capital on them. You stocked the lines with the early picks, and then you trusted your scouting skills in the 3rd day and landed 4 wide receivers, all that had draftable grades.
And all now the coaching staff has to do is put them in a position to be their best.
Yes. Yes. So
I'm excited.
I feel really good about it. I do.
I do too. And partially, a lot of that is because I just take what you put out there and I'm like, if Kevin's cool, I'm cool. If Kevin stays up till 3 o'clock analyzing potential draft picks, I go to bed at 9. It's cool. But I'm serious.
I do it for us.
Yeah, you do it by yourself. I mean, but I'm telling all Lions fans out there listening should be sharing this with the hashtag hire Lawson and tag Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell in this thing. Get this dude in the draft room, man. Come on now.
It's a good time. And I have a couple of people that I share the spreadsheet with, but by and large, I do it because I love it. I do it, and I've done it. I don't even know how many years I've done it for now.
Wait, you're a Lions fan? I couldn't tell by the background. Last week because now last week if you go look at the video, you got one thing. You look like the Godfather, the Lion Father, and that's sitting in that big old chair with all that stuff behind you. And then now I know this, but that's your wall of all the stadiums. You've been to all the stadiums, correct?
Correct.
Nice. And then next week, I think that the schedule comes out, what, the 13th, you said?
12th.
The 12th. So is that Sunday? Wait,
No, that is
'cause
like
today's-
Wednesday, I think.
Oh, well, so we'll have to talk about what we're going to do next week. But I do know that some of our, some of your fans out there, I got a couple. You got like 1,000. Actually want to come on the show and talk about football. So I think, like, outside of just stuff like this, we bring on some Lions fans and talk about why they're fans, right? Like, get to know, like, we'll basically continue what the Heart of the Lions fan was, the movie Talking to Fans, into this podcast, because man, I had so many people hit me up left and right. A dude from the UK, a family from freaking Alabama that drove here for games. I'm like, what?
How
crazy.
awesome is that?
But like, yeah, so now we can continue some of that conversation, because summer and football, there's a lot of other stuff going on, but hanging out and getting to know the
maybe
fans.
It's a lot of other stuff going on. We can always find some football to talk about, Mike.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we got to set up our travel plans, you know, for what we're gonna. Because I am going to a game with you on the road this year. I have never been to a road football game.
Oh my goodness,
in my life.
Definitely going to do it.
Yes, and this year feels like it's the year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
So, what other standout things from this year's draft are there, other than Aaron Rodgers being an a-hole?
Well, that kind of changed the tenor of the entire draft, to be honest.
I was so mad, Kevin. I was like, oh no, now I got to hear about Aaron Rodgers every freaking 30 seconds of this draft broadcast. Come on now. It's bad enough he's on every stupid commercial.
I was the opposite. I'm in the corner cheering. Trade him to Denver now.
Yeah, we want to beat the best, but you could ship Aaron Rodgers if you want to.
I'm tired of that guy. Get him out of here.
Yeah.
And the fact that their organization is in any type of turmoil, I'm sorry, I'm guilty. Keep it going.
Yeah.
Keep it going. Let's get that guy out of here. And as we're on the ascent, if they're coming back down the other way, are you kidding me? That is a match made in heaven.
Yeah, that's just the circle of life.
Yes. Yes. So you were upset you had to hear his name. I couldn't hear it enough because everything was negative. Everything was
right on.
I was cheering from the rafters, let me tell you.
Go host Jeopardy, Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
What is every Lions fan's dream? That is the answer to that question.
Yes.
Oh man.
So yeah.
Other than that, what were some of the highlights for you? Because I know you probably watched the whole thing. You were on Twitter the whole time.
Yeah, I took a couple sabbaticals, couple moments to walk the dogs and make sure my family hadn't left me. But I thought the Browns, independent of it being in Cleveland, I thought the Browns had a fantastic draft. They're going to be hard to deal with in the coming years. Wow, they've really put together a strong.
I'm going to put this on print right now. The Super Bowl that the Lions get into will be the same one the Browns get into. We
better pick up.
That will be the matchup.
They're up there.
Yeah, that will be the matchup.
Yes, we better get it together because they're on the ascent, man. They've got a really good team.
Yeah, I mean, even last year,
weekend
they had 11 wins last year.
Mm-hmm.
And who'd they pick up?
They picked up a couple of linebackers. They really didn't. They don't have any huge needs, but they got a guy who slipped out of the first round. Picked him up in the mid 40s. They're just so solid, and it's such a change. We're used to them bumbling around and drafting the Brandon Whedons of the world and Johnny Manziels of the world, and now everything they touch turns to gold. It's really amazing to see.
It is amazing that how many quarterbacks did they go through in? Was it like 20 quarterbacks in 10 years? It was something nonsensical.
And now suddenly they can't do anything wrong. Yeah, so it can turn.
And I think that's where we're at, right? Hope for the future. So speaking of that, did your expectations for next year change at all with this draft? You know, last time I think we talked about 5 wins kind of being that benchmark for us. It's hard, right? Like, we don't even know what these teams are, who's going to be on the roster. We don't even know really what the schedule looks like, kind of breaking down. But
do I feel better than I felt last Sunday? Yes, I do. So if I was hedging on 5 to 5.5 last Sunday, I'm going to go ahead and say 6. I feel better than I felt last week.
Right on.
I think if their plan is what I think it is, and it's put in place, the defense won't be awful. Goff's pretty good, and if we stay in games, we're going to run the ball down teams' throat.
Yeah.
If we're not down 24-3 in the second quarter, we're going to continue to run the ball, which keeps the ball out of the other team's hands and keeps us in the game. And with that formula, they'll probably have a ton of close games, one-score games, either way. And we'll probably steal our fair share of them. So, yeah, if you're going to Vegas, take the over.
And I think I've said it before, right? The best defense is a really good offense, because they can't score if the ball's not in their hands.
That's right.
And if we're going to build from the inside, and if we're going to play kind of this shorter ball control type game, I'm okay with that, right? We had the arm for the past 12 years, right? We had a guy that could score 2 touchdowns in 40 seconds if we needed to, right? We lived that life. We got scars from that life.
And it got us nothing.
Yeah. And I'm just ready for, if Goff leads the league in dink and dunks, well, there we go. Dink and dunks lead to picking up chunks.
Right.
All right. Anything else, Kevin?
No, Mike, I think we're good. We'll wait on that schedule. And if you want to do something next week, though, with the other fans, I think that's fantastic.
Well, our good friend Cindy says that her son wants to come and hang out. So
Tim,
what do you think about?
He's fantastic. You'll love him. You've probably met him, though, right?
Yeah, I've met him at least once or twice. I mean, sometimes it's hard to talk and get to know people at the games because we're all, a couple pops deep and yelling and swearing. But
yes.
Yeah, I'll reach out to Cindy and see if we can get us a special guest for next week, and then get his input on the draft and what he's looking forward to coming up this year with Detroit Lions football.
He's a great kid. You'll love him. He'll bring a lot of energy to the table, too.
All right, Kevin. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Mike, have a good one. I'll talk to you soon.
You too. Take care.
See ya.
Want to make sure we take the time to thank you for listening to today's podcast. We will be back with more Detroit Lions action here on the Heart of a Lions pod. Want to give a special shout out to Kevin MacLeod. He provided the music here at District 4, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. Making it happen the Detroit way. Let's go, everybody.